Thungdemo. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to tell you a short story about how I started farming tomatoes and the journey of my tomato farming. So I started this tomato farming since 2016, and in my early years, since from 2016 to 19, I mostly focused on my research on how to grow tomatoes in large scale. So I was interested in growing tomatoes because tomatoes is a produce that's being consumed every day. But however, we are mostly importing tomatoes from other markets, and during the off season, we cannot grow tomatoes. So I embedded my journey to grow tomatoes year round. So in my early years, I mostly focused on building growing tomatoes in the greenhouse, and I identified the variety of tomatoes to grow. So I mostly focused on indeterminate tomatoes that I grow year round. So I worked on over 50 to 100 varieties of tomatoes, or even more than 100 varieties of tomatoes, and identified what varieties I should grow in my greenhouse depending on temperature, yield, disease resistance, and so on. Then I also focus on the soil conditions to grow my tomatoes in. So I did a lot of soil testing and soil studies, and also the minerals content for what's required for best condition for growing tomatoes. And it took me about a year or two to figure that out, and also to grow from local resource rather than trying to bring all the minerals from outside the state. So that's my second focus on. Then later on, once I identified what variety and what soil condition to grow in, I also studied the condition of greenhouses to grow in, the temperature in the greenhouses, for example, the humidity, the grow temperatures, and what problems comes out doing this under such climatic conditions, or let's say humidity or a particular temperature. So once I've identified or I found that out, I also focused and collected a lot of data on what disease and pest management, or what are the problems that pops up during different type of seasons, the winter, summer, and all those things. So in my early 3 years, I mostly focused on the yield, the variety of tomatoes growing, the soil conditions, and also the pest and disease management. So it took me 3 years to come up with these issues. Then once I mapped out all these the main three issues, I started to think about growing it on a large scale. So initially I used to grow about around a few thousand trees of tomatoes with different variety, also focusing on different greenhouses. Then after 3 years, I got a very good information on how to grow tomatoes large scale, what time of the year to grow tomatoes, and also what time of the year that there is a scarcity of tomatoes, so that I can overcome challenges. Now, after doing this, getting all this data with me, I started this large-scale farming here now in Wokha. Now I can grow about 10,000 tomatoes in one season. I try to grow 2 seasons, so we grow during summer, so autumn season, and then we have another one spring season. So this is the spring season right now. So these are the autumn. We planted during September last year, and now we harvest it during the month of February, March, and April. And now, if you can see that around the greenhouse, we are also trying to get ready for the next season, which will be for the summer. So these are the research I've done so far in my last 3 years. And during the lockdown, I was stuck because I could not grow it bigger, but I wanted to do food processing. It's not just to sell the fresh produce, but also for off season. So we can't keep tomatoes for very long. Even if we keep in cold storage, there is a limitations of how much the time frame of how much we can keep. But during the off season, when it's raining, we are infested with diseases. Whilst on the other hand, during the on season, we get excess of tomatoes. So we will also be focusing on packaging our tomatoes and processing it, making sauces, and also packaging and identifying and giving you high quality tomatoes. So my main objective of this farming is also not just to grow tomatoes, but also give an option to the public, also give an option to the consumers, a better quality of tomatoes than that are available in the market, but also organic produce that we have in the market. And beyond fresh produce, we can also preserve for our off season for local consumption. Yeah.
So currently, how many employees are with you right now?
So currently we have around 6 full-time staff. Two are off now. They are also part-time workers. We have both male and female. We have trained them for the past 3-4 years, and also some of them are just working part-time also.
Thank you. So what are the challenges right now you are facing taking up a large scale?
So right now the biggest challenge, there are a couple of challenges we have, and also we have obstacles that we do come up. My earlier years, the biggest challenges I had was that we didn't have information or data on how to grow tomatoes on large scale in Nagaland. Everyone is growing tomatoes locally in their backyards or in the fields, but no one had grown it commercially on a large scale that I know of, or there's not been any sort of like data or information available on growing tomatoes. So for example, there are no record of like what the different pests that are prevalent in growing tomatoes in Nagaland. For example, different diseases, be it bacterial or virus or fungus problems that are prevalent in Nagaland, for example, and other summer challenges of growing during the summer when it's raining and when it's really hot. But in the winter we have extreme temperature, where in the summer you can be working under 40 to 35 degrees Celsius. However, in the winter you're coming and working under below 10 degrees Celsius. So those kind of challenges were there, and I had to experiment and work out and make conditions to overcome all these things. But that was the early challenge. Now that I've overcome all those technical challenges, now one of the challenges I'm facing, and I think for anyone penetrating into an existing market, is like to sell my product in the market. So one of the challenges is because my products being organic and because of the quality that I produce and because of the investments I've made, my products are on the higher side. It's a prime product. So in the Nagaland market, if you look at it, there are no, if you go to a normal bazaar, let's say, you don't have options of different prices of tomatoes because of the quality. You have all one product that have same price, same quality. But if you wanted to buy different options, if you wanted to buy different products, same product but different quality, then there's no such thing in the market at the moment. So I wanted to bring something new, so people have the option of buying different quality at different prices. So good quality, good prime product. So that's a little bit of a challenge because it's new. It's something new, would imagine so. And since the pricing is a little bit on the higher side, some people it's a little more challenging to convince people that this is a better quality, this is better for your health, this is better for your environment. You know, I have to educate the consumers to actually to actually educate and convince them to use this produce. So that's one of the challenges, the penetration in the market. So that's these are one of the challenges I have so far.
In a year, how much you are, yielding the products?
In terms of yield, it depends on many situations, or I would say conditions. So it depends on the variety. Some varieties give more tomatoes, so for some varieties of plants can give you 10 to 15 kilos, while some variety will give you 5 to 10 kilos. So that also depends factors. So another factor is also that the condition of the plant. So if the plants are healthy, they can give you more yield, whilst where the conditions are not very healthy, or they are infested with diseases, or some problems comes up during the plant growing season, then that yield drops. Whilst in the good condition, the yield high. So there's no fixed yield rate. However, on an average, we take up to one plant about 5 kilos. That's the average we calculate. So in a year, maybe depends on how many plants survive during the season. So far, this is my first season large scale, so I cannot give you exact number of how much I yield, but I can tell you that on an average, one plant can give me around 5 kilos.
Okay. So any advice to youth, upcoming entrepreneurs? Since Nagaland, we always depend on government employees on the other side. So this is also one encouraging platform that you are taking up as an entrepreneur. So what is your message to the youths, educated youth?
So yes, I've taken up entrepreneurship because it's what I wanted, or it's what fitted me. The type of person I am. Entrepreneurship is what I need to get into. I was never really into, I could never fit in a government system and a corporate system. That was my kind of personality. So my only option was like, be an entrepreneur, set up your own business. But so that was from personal point of view. But if you look at the current scenario of Nagaland, or the job, market, we have to think about like being what do you call, we have to grow our own businesses. Nah, in many ways, because like government jobs are saturated. Let's say when private sector is in like Nagaland, there's not a lot of companies that comes to Nagaland to set up businesses, industries that comes to Nagaland to set up business. There's only very few, so we have to start our own businesses and so on, or be an entrepreneur ourselves and come up with an idea or come up with an existing business idea. So for me, I chose agriculture because I'm very interested in food, for example, and my expertise somehow always led towards food. And if you think about it, agriculture is the biggest industry that Nagaland can actually exploit or can grow. And if we educate a person, for example, agriculture is for educated person. It's not just for like those days when our forefathers were just tilling land for their own survival. But now this is a business. Agriculture is a business, and it's the industry that Nagaland can be a boom. We can actually, because if you think about like India, we cannot maybe compete in terms of the volume, but we can produce like high quality prime produce and compete in the market. So that is what I focus on, and I think that's the opportunity even our young entrepreneurs can, or young aspiring entrepreneurs or young students or educated person can actually tap into. See, when we think about like Nagaland, we will have to think about like sourcing of raw materials. So for example, like agriculture is the only place where we can all like grow our own food, grow our own products, and we can also process it. Now, for example, I want to get into food processing, but I have to do farming, because if I want to process food, I need the raw materials. But now the raw materials I can't get it from anywhere in Nagaland, so I have to grow my own farm. I have to grow in my own farm and then process my own food. So that's my approach to my entrepreneurship. There's nothing, and that's where the opportunity is. No one is growing tomatoes. I started growing tomatoes, and I'm processing it now. Now I've taken it to the second step. So these are the opportunities we have to take into consideration. So my advice is that the Nagas is that I think we should focus a lot on agriculture industry. It can be farming, it can be food processing, it can be the food supply chain. The market is huge. We can tap into this and not being controlled by others. We are not the middlemen. We will be the producers, and we can also market, and we will be the consumers ourselves. So my humble advice is like, we don't always have to look for a white collar job where we sit in the office and like drive government cars or like work for corporates, but we can also like work and produce and multiply our own products. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.